started really getting very popular.
Yep.
So we tapped into Facebook, and through those channels of social media, we became something that was just a rundown gymnasium, a high school gymnasium with a basketball court. We turned it into something pretty cool.
So welcome to another episode here on Sandy Bay Media. Make sure to give us a like. It helps us out, and follow our page. I'm going to let Hannah let you know what's going on tonight.
Hi guys, I'm Hannah. I'm here with Peter Parthimos, who is the founder and owner of FutsalOz. So he will be giving us a little bit of insight to what FutsalOz is and how it's been going over the past decade.
Right. Thanks, Hannah. So to Peter, just to start off, can you just give us a brief history of FutsalOz in Victoria? Sorry, futsal in Victoria.
Futsal, futsal in Victoria has got a pretty fragmented past. We've had some peaks and a lot of lows.
Yep.
I first really got introduced to futsal back in the late 80s, 1980, through a competition that went on the East Coast of Australia. It was called the James Hardie Indoor Soccer League.
Yes.
And that also produced a national team, the indoor Roos, the indoor soccer Roos, who also played in a couple of the AMF, which were Futsal World Cups. So I was pretty young at that time. I was in my teens, very early teens, and I played outdoor soccer, so outdoor football for my local club here. And for me, I actually felt the indoor game suited me a lot better. Yeah. Although there wasn't a lot of futsal played in Melbourne at the time, it was more indoor soccer with the big furry tennis ball.
I remember those. Yeah.
Yeah, you remember that indoor soccer game, and that was for us a way of improving our confidence, improving our skills, and really connecting, with the ball. And when futsal came about, it was televised on SBS TV, and we started seeing the crowds come along. The promotion was really well done. We had the then late Les Murray onto it with Ange Pascalides, and SBS did a really good job. Obviously funded very well by James Hardie, who obviously doesn't exist anymore. The building company. Yep. And as a young kid in your early teens, and I considered myself, a skillful player. I actually took to it. I wanted to, play futsal. I really enjoyed where futsal was going, and we had a team here in Melbourne called the Melbourne Buffaloes, who were just down the road from where I am now. I'm in Brunswick. That was down in Coburg. Yep. And I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna get serious about indoor, and because it wasn't called futsal, although we knew the word was futsal, which we used to call it indoor soccer then. And the ball was a futsal ball, but we played indoor soccer. Yeah. On a parquet floor, which is a basketball type of court, the same size as a basketball court, a bit wider. Yes. And for me, that's where the introduction came from. But easy come, easy go. As soon as it came in, it didn't last too long. A couple of years later, James Hardie, for whatever reason, and obviously they had internal problems as a company. Yeah, they pulled the funding, and that was it. That was pretty much the end of the limelight for the Futsal Indoor Soccer National League at the time. And then since then, all you really had was the indoor soccer, the actions type of sport. Centres where you had multiple sports. You had your indoor cricket, your indoor soccer, your rebound netball, types of sports. So that's the only thing we sort of kept on playing, just to stay in tune with the indoor game. Yep. And it wasn't till I would think perhaps 10 to 15 years later, more likely 12 years, that futsal reappeared a little bit back in Melbourne. Yes. And what interests me at the time was I was injured. I'd done my knee playing outdoor, and I wanted to get back slowly and play. And a friend of mine who ended up becoming my business partner in the early days, he invited me to come and play futsal. And I said, "Oh, is it with that old ball, the real soft ball, the real hard ball?"
Yeah.
And pretty much, he said, "No, the ball's good. It's softer, and you'll love it. Come down and play." I needed a player, so I've gone all the way to Albert Park, which was the Albert Park pitch where they have the Grand Prix.
Yes.
They play above the you know where that is, don't you?
Oh yeah.
And that was it. I went there, and I'd come back from a knee injury. I would have been about 10, 12 months after an operation, probably a bit less. So I said, "Look, I'm just going to go goalkeeper." I was a field player. I was, I consider myself, I could play any position anyway. So I said, "I'll just go goalkeeper and just ease into it nice and softly." I hadn't played any sport really apart from a little bit of rehab.
Yeah.
And that was it. At half time, I'm itching. I'm saying I'm getting out of goals. And at half time, I said, "Boys, I'm not staying in goal. Who wants to go goalkeeper?" And that was it.
Yeah.
I kicked a couple of goals. I had a lot of fun, and that was it. I saw that this game can be taken to the next level. And pretty much, I'm not so sure how much more history there was in Melbourne for futsal, but it was very minimal, very minimal. James Hardy brought it up and slammed it back down. And then after that, it was indoor soccer, action type of sport, up until the Albert Park pits had netball going on there, and a bunch of guys who wanted to play indoor soccer used to hire it, and then they worked out, "Hey, we can play indoor soccer here or futsal."
Yeah.
And that's where it was revived a little bit. And then once I got involved in the indoor soccer, I refereed. I became a part of the Albert Park setup only for a short time.
Yes.
Because I worked out to myself that was Albert Park were really invested in their netball. And I wasn't really that keen for netball at the time. So I wanted to make it go further. So I tried my hardest to involve everyone. I was working in logistics at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't think that I'd leave my work, to pursue a career in futsal. I just thought, this is a great hobby, part-time hobby where I could take it to the next level. And I went to the Victorian Football Federation at the time and outlaid some plans. We could make this big. And during that time, there was another organisation that created a Premier League that was played out of MSAC, in Albert Park. I'm not sure if you know where MSAC is. It's a big multi-purpose.
Just up the road.
That has up the road. That has swimming.
Yeah, just up the road.
The Premier League then ran for about 2-3 seasons, and it was televised on Channel 31, which is a community TV station.
Yes. Yeah.
So I wanted to be completely involved, and I was involved as much as possible on a very part-time basis. But before you knew it, after 3 seasons, that stopped as well.
Mm.
So all of a sudden, from not having anything, we had something that excited us. All of a sudden, it was back to zero again.
Yeah.
So that's when I pretty much got fed up, and my friend then, Evan Robotis, still my friend now, we basically said, look, he and pretty much his whole family, his father, were all refereeing at the time. I was doing a bit of refereeing. Mm-hmm. We said, why don't we just start our own competition, and thank God my old high school gymnasium was on the chopping block. They were going to knock it down, and they had no purpose for it in the community. And basically we lobbied and we convinced the Department of Human Services to keep it as a multi-purpose facility for the Moreland community, which is right around here.
Yeah. And
we convinced them after 14 months of pretty much to and from, and that's where FutsalOz started. FutsalOz started there, part-time hobby, and before you knew it, we had packed it out, and I couldn't work anymore full-time. I had to pretty much take it on full-time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've answered any other questions. I don't even know what the first question was.
No, mate, it's brilliant. Like, that's the more information, and I think the story's there. That's a fantastic journey you've been on.
And that was a starting point of FutsalOz. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to let Hannah ask the next question. Go for it.
Cool. So what were probably the biggest challenges in the process of getting FutsalOz started?
Well, firstly, I had zero idea how to run a business. I was a logistics manager, and I understood how to work under, having a general manager above me, pretty much taking orders and basically just doing what I have to do, to meet my goals and projects at the time being. I never understood what GST was. I never understood what pay-as-you-go tax was, superannuation, and all what comes with businesses. And from the outside, I thought, wow, how hard can it be? Although I had good people skills, and I knew, because I had a team under me in logistics, and I understood how to move, products from one place to another, or how to set up, events and stuff like that. I had really good experience there. I had very, very little business, how to run a business, how to conduct it, how to balance books, and pretty much was a different ball game. So I found it really hard in the initial period of time, because I didn't understand what was around the corner. And, I constantly would, harass my accountant, harass, pretty much anyone that understood a little bit about business. So the early days was pretty much walking, on eggshells, blindfolded, and I think it was just a passion that got me back out of bed every day and went through with it. So it was hard, Hannah. It was hard.
And that's something like I can relate to, that everything you've just said there. Like the last 2 years have been exactly that.
Yeah, I think the most important thing when you start a business, any business, is and I don't think you can find this type of help. There isn't somewhere you could go or have some sort of a package where you could unfold and unpack it, where it explains to you how to run a business and what are the main indicators, or the pitfalls, or all the traps. What is it? And I'll tell you, whoever sets that up will do really well, as long as they can put it in layman's terms. Yeah.
Exactly. I could go into talking about businesses all day with you, but getting back to futsal and FutsalOz.
Another episode. That's for another episode.
That's exactly another episode. We'll get Hannah to do that one. She can host it. Of yours.
Brilliant.
Just getting back to futsal. I know you mentioned a lot of the early processes and challenges you had. Were there any other processes that sort of helped it grow in the middle years and towards now?
Oh, look, honestly, I don't know how else it would have been done. In the early stages, we had MySpace. So it was before Facebook.
Yes.
Facebook might have been around, but no one knew really about Facebook. So we had MySpace. And the reason we tapped into MySpace was because the younger generation, I would have been about 29, 30 years old at the time. And the younger generation coming through were all on their devices. Well, it was a very early stage for devices, to be honest. But they were on it. MySpace and it was a communication platform for non-oldies, for all the youngies, And we thought, how do we tune in and change a perception? Because we understood quite clearly that futsal was... every time when people asked us what you were doing and we said futsal, we almost had to write up a thesis to explain what futsal was.
Yeah.
So we realised that we have to start with the younger kids early on, and together we'll take it through to the next generation. So MySpace for us was massive, and not long after that, Facebook started really getting very popular.
Yeah.
So we tapped into Facebook, and through those channels of social media, we became something that was just a rundown gymnasium, a high school gymnasium with a basketball court. We turned it into something pretty cool, and something that the youngies wanted to get involved in. And honestly, I think the identification of social media at a very early stage for FutsalOz was pivotal. It was a massive move. And I honestly think that if we didn't really dive in hard into the social media, it was very early stages of social media, by the way, where algorithms weren't as pretty much as they weren't as smart as they were then. Pretty much anything you put up, everyone saw.
Yes.
Where now you can't guarantee what you put up, people are going to see because it's monetized. And Facebook wasn't monetized at all back then. I don't know how they made money, to be honest.
Yeah.
No, there are rumors the CIA owned that. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's pretty much, I think, the ignition key or the ignition point of us building something that started off pretty much from nothing to getting some popularity, especially around the northern suburbs.
Yeah.
And the second part was we created what we called a V League, because as I mentioned earlier, there was attempts, from James Hardy, and there was another small attempt with the Premier League at MSAC, which lasted a very short period of time, perhaps a year and a half, at max 2 years. And what a sort of the impression it left on myself and Evan, who we got in the early stages, was that you need some sort of an elite structure to accommodate for people or players that want to take it to the next level. Because we had the juniors coming in, learning how to improve their skills, and we also had people that just want to play socially.
Yeah.
But we wanted to cater for the high level skilled players that wanted to play at a higher level, and albeit on the outdoor season, on the off season.
Yeah.
So we thought this is a great opportunity that players aren't going to leave outdoor at this early stage to play futsal, but on their off season, we can entice them to play at a high level.
Yep.
The indoor soccer futsal. And that was our strategy through Facebook and social media. That was our strategy, and that seemed to have worked pretty well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just touching on that, and I was just telling Hannah earlier on about how big FutsalOz is, and we're looking at the social media aspect of it. FutsalOz has over 60,000 likes on Facebook following the page. Yeah, the only other organizational football club in Victoria that's at that status is South Melbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's no other organization that I've seen in Victoria in a sporting sense or in a federation sense has those numbers. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll tell you, the amazing thing was in the early days, we grew with 100, 200, it got to 5,000, 10,000.
Yeah.
And at the early stages, almost all 10,000, even 15,000 would see all our content.
Exactly.
As soon as we grew, we were seeing that, even myself, who was an administrator of the page, I wouldn't even get the content.
Yeah.
And they were pushing us, and it was a smart business move by Facebook.
Oh yeah.
They pushed us to monetize, to add money on all our posts. So although we had a massive audience, it was very hard for our content to get around to all the 80,000 people, and a lot of the fans and likes that we've got are from all over the world, not just from Australia. So that's what it is.
How much do you think FutsalOz has actually grown over the past probably decade and a bit?
Well, we've grown not only physically as far as the locations. We've got 3 locations now. We've got 2 in the northern and 1 in the east, in Thomastown, Brunswick and Mount Evelyn. So through facilities, we've grown. We've tripled what we've had. But we've got something like about 25,000 people registered in our system throughout the 14 years or so that have come in and played. And that doesn't include mums and dads and grandparents and all the spectators that have come in. We've got it. It's hard to put a number on everything, but we keep on growing. Even through this isolation here, we've been pretty much closed down for 4 months.
Yeah,
which isn't great if you love playing, and I really miss playing more than running the business, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
I've got a team, a social league team called the Hammers that every Thursday was, something I really look forward to, and I'm not doing that now. So, what we find is that it's growing even during this period, and what I mean by that is that we have a lot of people reaching out to us and telling us, "Oh, I miss it," and it's not the same, and so it's like that ice cream shop where you drive past, or you walk past, there's a line in front of the ice cream shop, and all of a sudden you think, why is everyone eating ice cream there? So you want to try that ice cream shop, but if that same ice cream shop had no one in there, you wouldn't really care about getting an ice cream from that shop. So this scarcity of not playing futsal, I think, has it's ignited some of the hunger back to some to the players and the parents who brought their kids here. So it's on one hand, it's not great for business, obviously being closed 4 months now, and on the other hand, you'd have to say that it's probably going to be business. We're going to be business as usual once it opens up, because that great weight or that the scarcity of not playing will open up the floodgates again.
Exactly, completely agree with you there. And I was
well, at least I'm hoping that. I'm hoping that happens.
This is what I was looking at it earlier, and you can just see once we do go back, because it'll be in that summer period most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with can definitely see FutsalOz and just being inundated with people, and just you're gonna have a great time.
Thank you. I can't wait.
And Hannah's got one more question.
Yep.
Oh yes, I do too. So, what do you think the future holds for FutsalOz, and where do you want it to go?
Well, at Futsal, we've got a mentality here where we do think big. We think that we've become the custodians of the game of futsal, because what we found is that we brought futsal back to its original roots, where it's played on a smaller court. It's played dynamically. The action's been brought back into the game. I mentioned earlier that futsal's been fragmented, and it's been politicised in a big way, because it is a direct threat to other sports such as outdoor football. Because in the early stages, when futsal had a rise, it just didn't have a rise in Australia, in the east coast of Australia. It happened all over the world, especially in Brazil and South America and Spain. And what was obvious was this sport could be a sport of the future, the way the next generations are heading, being indoors, being attached to their appliance, their phones and stuff like that. So it was very attractive to the next generation. So I think politically it was a great move, not great for futsal, but a great move for football to take on futsal. And to some degree they shelved it. They changed the game. They enlarged the court, almost doubled the size of the court, which took away that dynamic and the attractiveness of the sport. Now, if you play the sport or you're a manager, it's not a big deal, because you're still playing and you're managing. But what it did was the people that were on the fringe or weren't interested in futsal, it made the game very boring for them. And it wasn't as entertaining. So for us, it's been all about bringing the entertainment back in the game, and basically growing our business. Our business has got many fronts. One of them has been what we call the brand we play is called Series Futsal, which is the dynamic old version of the game that's real quick, fast-paced. And we believe that, we've got a real strong Victorian league. And once a year, for both men and women, we have an Australian competition, which is very strong, where players from all over the world are attracted. We're not talking about the best players, but there are players all over the world that are coming into this competition. And we had a good momentum before this happened, where we were enticing even better players. So we'll continue doing that. And we find that will grow as far as the elite competition goes. And as far as the social competition, and also to the early development and training the young boys and girls coming through the ranks, we're setting up like a license agreement, as most people would understand as a franchise. We don't like calling it a franchise, but it'd be a license agreement where husband and wife or couples or whoever is interested could potentially get into a franchise or a license agreement and have their very own FutsalOz and run it as their own business. And it will be heavily backed up by the lessons that I personally learned building the business. And for us, it'll be a turnkey solution, very easy to run. And even if you don't, you're not into futsal, if you're a sports person or enjoy that type of dynamics of sport, it'd be a fun business to be a part of. Of course, with coronavirus, that's sort of pushed it back perhaps a year or two, but that's our plan. And we think that we do bring a lot of joy, love and happiness to the game. and to people's lives. So I think it's going to be very important going forward, because we've got there's a bit of lack in the world of that now.
Yeah.
Through this pandemic.
Exactly. And I just wanted to touch on what you mentioned between being entertainment and enjoying it. I think in this country, we forget that's what sports is meant to be by most for us. It's got to be enjoying. It's got to be entertaining first and most.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I also would say that people often ask me, what is a sport? What makes a sport? Yeah. And it's a very good question, because sport is something that it's competitive. First of all, you've got to be competitive in a sport. It's got to interest people outside of the sport, or people that are not on the court. So for me, a sport gets bigger by the amount of people that want to watch it. Mm-hmm. And I think high-level sports all over the world have got great fan bases.
Exactly.
So a sport's not taken serious until people want to really watch it.
That's it.
So that's what the entertainment factor is. We're not going to get anyone to watch futsal if it's boring. No, we'll get plenty of people to play or use it as a training tool for football. Mm-hmm. But to become a standalone sport of its own, you need to attract fans to tune in, to come into the stadium, to invest their time into the sport. So I think that's what our aim is to do. We're also building some amazing software that will have its own social media platform in the competition management of the software, which we will be releasing next Tuesday. The software is called WeFroth, and basically we'll be releasing it next week. It's a huge investment for FutsalOz and Series Futsal. That will also be part of your competition. You'll know where your fixtures are, your ladders. Yeah. You'll be able to upload photos. You'll have videos of your game, whatever competition you're playing.
Yeah. Okay.
And you'll have the ability to go in and comment and make tag other players. So it will be a complete social media competition management all in one place.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Great. Yeah. We are actually running out of time, so I'm going to let Hannah just finish off with a few last notes and then close the show off.
Cool.
Last notes, you reckon? Oh, goodness.
Anything you want to add, Hannah?
All right. Oh, God, I don't... As a futsal player myself, it's quite... the competition isn't quite like that in New South Wales, and it's really good that... like the direction you want to pull it in, and obviously have it as a standalone sport. I personally played it to keep fit for outdoor.
Yes.
But to see you actually doing it, make it as a standalone sport and make it as big as it can is really, I find it quite great to see. And shame that I'm in New South Wales at the moment.
Well, we want to get to New South Wales. I think we've just been put back a bit now. So, and I don't think you've got too many Victorians in New South Wales right now. So.
No, not at the moment.
All right, we'll get over this, and once the model's complete and the borders open up again, we'll ignite the plans, and we look forward to getting to New South Wales. We think it's a very important market.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, we thank you so much for speaking to us today, and we can't wait to see the direction that FutsalOz goes within the next decade again, and hopefully we'll be seeing them in New South Wales, Queensland, and all over the other states.
Thank you, Hannah. Appreciate your time, and stay safe. And anytime. Look forward to having a chat again.
Brilliant. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rohit. Cheers.
All good, mate.